shows are individually owned and opinions expressed may not reflect others. Welcome to the Edventures in Tech podcast, talking the latest tips and trends in educational technology to innovate and engage your students. Here are your hosts, Andrew and Dan.
Welcome to episode 19 of the Edventures in Tech podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Andrew.
And I'm the other one, Dan.
That's it. Yeah, we're going to go off the rails. Anyways, if you like the content, help us out by providing feedback and a rating on wherever you download your podcast from. We greatly appreciate your support. And it's going to be a we almost should call this off the rails, but we won't. We won't call this episode off the rails because it's just one of those days that Dan and I are on all kinds of kicks.
Focus.
You're tenacious, so I don't know what else to say. All right. Dan, wanted to, before we get to classroom updates, because we had a meeting this morning, so we can kind of give a preview of what's coming, right?
Sure.
With sixth grade. I want to get to my Would You Rather.
Okay. What do you got for me today?
Okay, you ready?
As I'll ever be.
Would you rather live in the fictional world of Star Wars or Star Trek?
You're really asking me that?
Yeah, man. Are you a Trekkie?
No.
Well, I'm just checking. I don't know.
No, I would actually. Well, where would I rather live, though?
See? You're judging me. Then look.
I would go to Star Wars, but that holodeck on Star Trek is pretty cool.
See?
Kind of going back to that teleport thing. I can go anywhere.
Yeah, that's why I brought it up. See, you're making it where you're really asking me this. And then, look, now you're like going in deep, off the rails. You know what grinds my gears?
Like Star Wars, I'd find myself lost in like the Arctic or in that, what planet was that where you had to cut open the thing and stay
I'm going to Batu.
You're going to Batu?
That's it, man.
Go play in the sand in Tatooine.
I'm gonna go hang out with Chewie. So we're off the rails. Anyways, so which one? See, tough question. I gave you a good
I want to say Star Wars, but I'm thinking Star Trek would be a lot more comfortable. Okay,
touche. Maybe so. All right, I got another one. Like, we'll continue that conversation with something else. In a future episode. So let's talk before we get into the weekly wind-up. Classroom updates. Dan, you want to talk about the sixth grade meeting we had this morning with a kind of a mini PBL project, I guess we could say.
Yeah, we can call it a mini PBL, or we can just call it student-centered. But looking at the role of teen activism, and the students spend a lot of time researching and writing about various teen activists that they choose to delve in deeper. So just looking at, it's a great writing exercise that the students go through. But, looking at to bring some more student agency into it is defining an audience, which is going to be their parents, and then coming up with the idea of what does it mean to be an activist.
Yep.
So, they've done a lot of research. We had the conversation with the teacher as we were fleshing it out, like, where do we want to go with this? What's the outcome? And it kind of got across in the conversations that the students became pretty passionate about the people that they were they're researching. So once I hear the word passionate, I start thinking of Genius Hour, 20% time. And so my mind's going there, giving them a chance to get into it a little deeper. So didn't have the whole Genius Hour conversation because I think that would have been distracting.
A bit overwhelming.
But kind of taking that idea of letting them run with something passionate is then come up with the idea of defining what does it mean to be an activist, and then allow them to use their research and their writing to back up what their claim is to be. So claim, evidence, reasoning.
Tying it all together.
Comes right in there, and then giving them some student choice on how would you best answer your question for your audience. Would you like to use video or would you like to use audio?
Right, which I think, again, we always, are big proponents of student choice, and that's the easiest way to get involved, and it doesn't have to be super, massive in size in the sense that it's just two choices. Make it simple. So, and then they can go from there and kind of really make it their own.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's go into the weekly windup. We all live in a digital world nowadays, specifically in email. And again, Dan, and I'm waiting for your audio bit here. Casey Bell from Shake Up Learning.
Shake it up.
There you go. That's what I was waiting for.
Shake it up.
So she's got an article in regards to time-saving Gmail hacks for teachers. Because let's be honest, we email a lot.
We email a lot.
Whether it's administration, colleagues, parents, outside visitors, virtual, visitors, whatever it may be. There's a lot of emails going on for a multitude of reasons. And, just to go over a couple of her tips. Number one, I've used, I'm sure you have used as well, Dan.
30-second delay.
That's it. It's the undo send. So basically, and
whoops.
Yeah, it says it a bunch of times. It'll give you a pop-up, and it's 30 seconds to change your mind about hitting that send button. So you've already hit send, and then what happens is you're like, oops, I forgot that. Or it's like, Dan's like, why didn't you email it to me? And I'm waiting for the 30 seconds to go by because it hasn't gone into his inbox yet. But it's the same idea, and it's basically in your settings in that gear icon, the cogwheel in the top right corner, and you can choose the number of seconds. I don't know if you need more than 30, but maybe.
Well, you don't have a choice.
Yeah. You won't be able to get anything else. It's like 10 seconds, right? 30
right.
seconds
So you
is
get
the max.
30 seconds is the max.
So that's something helpful if you're like, oops, I forgot to attach the attachment. But Gmail now using that AI also says if you're like, hey, I've attached this, blah, 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 and they're like, you didn't attach anything. So they kind of like make you, it's like a double check for you. So,
but the undo send is great.
It is. Schedule an email. Love that. Just when I want to bombard Dan's email box at like 3:30 in the morning when he's going out for a run.
So, all right, since we're recording this on a Friday, so I will say I get a lot of joy bombarding Andrew's email.
Yes, he does.
So,
because it dings my Apple Watch as well.
So because we work together so much and we have a lot of things going on, we basically have a shared Google Calendar.
Yep.
So anything that we're doing, even though we're both not maybe being involved, we invite each other to our calendars just so we can keep track. Not like I need to know what he's doing at all times, but so we know what kind of projects are going on. We know where things are at, where we need to be, or if one of us needs to step in and cover for something.
Bounce ideas.
Bounce ideas off. So we send a lot of invites, and I stockpile them.
He snoozes them.
So, I wait till I get to a list of about 10 or 15 invites, and then I accept them all at once. And then when I'm sitting next to him at his desk, I hear his watch going ding, 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 ding.
Yeah, it's not only the dings, it's also the vibrates. And I'm like, ah! It makes me have a seizure almost.
It's the little things.
It is.
I find joy in that.
Thanks, Dan. But anyways, I don't know how we went off the rails with that. We were talking about scheduling an email, right? So it can be super helpful when you're emailing newsletters or reminders.
Right.
Or, 7 a.m. you need to do something, or 8:30, or whatever the due date may be.
Just like when we're, the great feature in Google Classroom where you can schedule the assignments to go out, you can schedule your emails. So, a lot of times we're sitting down at some point, writing off things and, knowing like this isn't the right time to send this email, but I want to get it out. So instead of just hiding it in your drafts and waiting to send it later, you can schedule that email. So to use this function, you just start by composing the email, and then rather than hitting the send button, click on the drop down arrow and choose schedule send.
Right. And one of the benefits of that as well is, you compile something on, let's say, Friday as you plan for the following week. Schedule that to go out Monday morning, 7:30, so you don't have to worry about it because, a million other things happen, during the weekend and trying to get prepped for the day. That's the best feature of that. This next one I thought was very good. It was an email signature.
That gave me an idea. I mean, I think we all know what an email signature is, but I think Casey Bell's idea of putting important information and links in your email signature is a great time saver.
Yeah, web page, school district calendars, social medias, Wakelets, Google calendars, all of that right there. I think that's a fantastic idea.
I mean, that can definitely save you time answering the same questions over and over from parents, instead of, how do I get to this? How to have this? You can always just say, refer them to the link in the signature.
Yeah.
What's nice is another Gmail hack is have your canned responses.
Well, yeah.
That's another story, but you can have your canned responses, so you can always just send that out too.
Yeah, those templates are awesome with that as well. We talk about labels. Labels are pretty much folders.
Right.
So it's the same idea. I think a lot of people have used those in the past, but again, you just create a simple label. You can have nesting labels and groups and everything. So it's quite beneficial if you need to save something. It's the same thing. We use the archive a lot, right? Archive. I know I'm getting ahead of myself, but archive versus delete. If you archive, you'll always have it there. in some, it'll be in the cloud.
It'll be in the cloud, and all you have to do is search your Gmail like you'd search for anything else, and it brings up all your archives.
That's it. Filters, if it's certain people, right? That you need to kind of locate, use that search bar. You can search via the email address or subject or words, etc. Dan, you were just talking about templates.
Templates. I love saving draft as templates and having those responses. So, I mean, once you've been teaching for a while, it becomes clear how much time you spend repeating yourself. And especially when you have young kids at home, I'm sure older kids too, you repeat yourself even more. And more and more. So to save some time, create an email template for those repeat requests. And then you can just have have that all set up and ready to send out. All you have to do is start composing that email with what that message would be. You type the typical message, and then once it's typed, click on the 3 dots in the bottom right corner, then choose template, and then you're good to go.
Yeah, and if you need, we'll post the link to the article, the blog post, in the show notes. Obviously, if you have any questions setting it up, it's all in the settings, but we can, obviously help guide you through the way. But I think Casey did a pretty good job of doing that. So Gmail, yeah, I mean, we all live in the Gmail world, so definitely some of these could be some efficient save time and kind of make things just more streamlined for you in your classroom. I wanted to talk about the article that Screencastify put out, Dan, before we go
to Cami?
Yes. The 11 best EdTech tools to enhance your classroom. Now, remember, as we talk about tools and tool belts, you have to
number one be the Adventures in Tech podcast?
That's right. That's
okay.
Number one.
Number
in
one,
your hearts,
number
always.
one in our hearts.
But the the EdTech tools are definitely. I'm trying to stay on the rails, Dan. Anyways, they definitely help teachers bring to the classroom, make things more inviting and engaging. And not every tool is going to work for every single task. You have to see which ones are best in your repertoire and go from there. So obviously, Screencastify is posting it. What do you think number one is? Screencastify, right?
Of course,
which makes sense.
It does. Not because that. Well, yes, because Screencastify is posting it, but I love Screencastify.
It's robust.
It's so robust, and everything you can do with it really can help you manage your classroom in more efficient ways, because you have that ability to create the instructional materials on demand for your students, whether you're demonstrating something on your computer screen on how to complete a task. If you wanted to model something, you can record yourself as you're doing it on your whiteboard, or you can just turn on that webcam and do it with manipulatives, or just show yourself. And creating those short videos and putting it into the students' regular workflow, I mean, it just saves you so much time. And we talked about repeating yourself.
Yep. You
can just repeat yourself as much as you want and not get aggravated from it. Oh, Mr. Nicola, how do I do this? Mr. Nicola, how do I do this? Mr. Nicola, how do I do this? If they get in the habit of knowing that there's those supports there with them, they're not going to bombard you every second of the day.
Yeah, it is a key feature. And, as we always say, we like that it's free $99 for 5 minutes, correct, Dan?
Correct.
5 minutes. So even if you do not have premium licensing, Screencastify is free for videos up to 5 minutes. And let's be honest, most people, you don't need more than 5 minutes because you want to keep that engagement component. So Screencastify. The next one we talk about was Wakelet. I think we've done due justice
they
with
know
Wakelet.
Our feelings on Wakelet.
We love it.
Love it. Which we're using so much. And the teacher buy-in on Wakelet has been great with the people we're working with. So
a lot of benefits, to it with curating and just making things even more collaborative than they were in other tools. The next one, Remind. I mean, let's talk about Remind. Same kind of thing. It can schedule, but you do need to have a certain age group. I believe it's 13 and up. Is that correct?
I'm not
13 or 14. Again, go to Remind's privacy policy to concern, just to review and make sure you're aware of the age limit for what they are saying when it comes to text messages and using the Remind service. Dan, number 4.
Number 4, which we all know and we love, is Google Workspace. I mean, so talk about the 11 best EdTech tools. Google Workspace has revolutionized EdTech from going back to its inception, and it's put into schools. The collaboration features alone just make this one of the best tools to be able to use. I mean, talk about the idea of slides as creation tools, forms for assessment, forms for building Google My Maps, drawings. I mean, everything you see there. But one thing they do mention is Google Lens. Google Lens is pretty cool. It's an app, so you have to use it on your mobile device, your phone's camera. So it lets you use your phone's camera or photo you took to visually analyze the world around you. It can help students perform research using photos and real-world objects.
Yeah, I haven't used much Google Lens that much.
No, I haven't either.
And I haven't really played with it. I haven't really had the need for it. So again, like
I
guess
it's time to jump in the sandbox.
Possibly. So number 5 I thought was interesting too, which... there may be districts that have buy-in to this as well, but you're able to try it for free for 14 days. And we know coming out of the pandemic, SEL is a big thing. So this is something called Headspace, which is a meditation and mindfulness tool that you could bring to the classroom to help students learn to control emotions. And we know that students nowadays are struggling with anxieties and worries, and obviously for good reason. So the SEL component is just as important as traditional learning, and I think Headspace is kind of carving a niche in the environment of EdTech and education to kind of help, the students. And again, it is free for 14 days. If it's something valuable, perhaps you look at the subscriptions to see if it's something worthwhile. It's $12.99 a month or $69.99 a year.
So I was surprised to see number 6 as best EdTech tools, but I think it's something that we find valuable, and that's Anchor.
Yep.
So we know Anchor.
Yeah, Anchor's great. It's Anchor. They can, we talk about, and we were talking about the roles earlier today, is students can actually make and share their own podcasts.
Right.
Obviously, we do want to check privacy policies because once you use Anchor does your distribution. So once it's free, and once you get out there, it's out there. So again, you need to ensure that there's no personally identifiable information out there, in regards to that, because we always want to put safety at the forefront.
Mm-hmm.
But that's something that you can definitely do. And I don't want to say it's not something that you need to use, because as long as you're capturing audio, there's enough other ways to distribute and share it in a safe manner. So I
think we'll post the list for the rest.
They keep going on. Yep.
The rest they keep going on. I was happy to see Blookit on there.
Yeah.
I remember when we talked about Blookit and saying, like, where have we been? I know we got a response like, yeah, where have you been? I've been using this for a while. But, since we got turned on to Blookit, I've seen it used more and more, and it's great. And just kind of throw back, what I would like to see on this list maybe next year? That word wall that you shared a couple of weeks ago. That is really awesome.
Yeah, that's something we can definitely look into as well. So we'll post the link in the show notes, and then you can check the full article out from Screencastify from there. Let's talk Cami, Dan.
Let's talk Cami.
So, they have a bunch of teaching templates they're now adding.
Right. So they have some templates that you can work in that space: gratitude journals, digital notebooks, checkers, chutes and ladders. There's some neat ones. I like the text and markup tool one that they have. So there is some templates. Cami is a definite resource. I think it works better in a remote environment than it does in a blended or classroom environment. But it can be useful in there as well. So looking at those teaching templates, it could inspire you to use one of these or to create something similar for yourself in a tool that might work better for your students or your classroom.
Right, and the Cami library that came out of the Cami Connect conference, which I think happened at the end of February, was pretty much it's their new feature. So they have 109 resources in here. It's going to continually grow and evolve. But comic strips, graffiti walls, cause and effect, a bowling theme, a gratitude challenge. So we'll post the link. You can check out the templates, see if anything kind of works for you, and then we'll go from there with Cami. Again, like Dan said, I think it's got its use, but it's not as useful now as students, depending upon the age level, are now back in person.
Right.
So. Google had an update, and this one is one we have been waiting for. Scheduling posts for multiple classes in Google Classroom.
Yeah, so teachers can now schedule posts across multiple classes in Google Classroom, and that's great because normally like you could only schedule for one class, so you'd have to. So for all the people that are out there trying to like get their digital space set, I'm now, schedule an email. Now schedule your assignments across multiple classes. That's a huge time saver.
Yeah, publish immediately. Too. Yeah, you can publish immediately. You can publish at a certain time. You can change different topics, for that. So if you have something that, if you don't use the same topics all the time, you can save them as drafts. And it's free $99, and the rollout has started. So hopefully within the next 15 days.
Right, that was our St. Patrick's Day gift yesterday.
That's right.
The availability is to Google Workspace for Education Fundamentals, Education Standard, and the Teaching and Learning Upgrade and Education Plus customers. It's not available to Google Workspace Essentials, Business Starter, Business Standard, Business Plus, Enterprise Essentials, Enterprise Standard.
Yeah, which would make sense because, again, most times I think it's all in the educational world when you're talking about scheduling in Google Classroom. So it doesn't really have, an area for there. All right, so this week's episode we wanted to discuss Canva. And I don't think a lot of people have the a lot of background knowledge for Canva, but Canva is used in educational and business world. And so basically, when we talk about what is Canva, to give you the summary, it's just basically it's a graphic design platform,
very
and
similar
it's free.
to Adobe.
Very much so, right? And it can make anything. I'd say it's trying to carve out its space in direct competition with the Adobe licensing stuff. But it is free, and you can put backgrounds, make things professionally designed. You could have your own photos. Like, there's a lot, it's got 50,000 templates to use. It's got all kinds of cropping and straightening, adding text features. So it's a robust tool. They have free videos to kind of go over it, but that's kind of like the three-sentence summary of what it is. And then now we can talk about how it could be used in education, just to give you some ideas.
So, the whole idea of digital design is something that I think comes into play, especially when we start instituting student choice and referencing UDL with multiple ways of representing your knowledge, is that students are living in a digital world, and a lot of them know the idea of creating for a digital space. Now, we don't want students going into their social media and like actually working in Instagram or working in TikTok or working in any of those platforms because of all the privacy and things. You just don't want to go down that rabbit hole. But much like Adobe, Canva now has those opportunities where students can develop things for social media, develop print products, marketing products, office products, all these different things they can design using some templates that are really easy to interact with. So if you're looking for ways for students to publish digitally, Canva is a good way to do it. Of course, you could do it. They can do a variety of different things. Adobe is great. They can design things in slides and drawings, but having some resources there for them to go to would be great. And it's also good for you as you're designing your things. For teachers to design infographics, to do presentations, to create classroom posters, to create a Google Classroom header. I love that, right?
That's a big one.
That's a big one. So for teachers and for students, there are all these creation tools and templates, a group work template, a classroom announcement, a newsletter template. How often are we trying to help teachers create newsletters in slides and docs and all that? So it's just another great tool that's out there.
Yeah, and one thing I know I also want to mention, we've been talking about playlists and YouTube. You can make YouTube channel art in Canva, so that's another way that you can utilize Canva, pretty easily in that regard. We talk about restaurant menus, so they have, and these are all templates, as we start to think of how, creative ways that we can use it in the classroom, those are a few. One thing I did want to mention is Canva also has a exact number right now is 1,021 templates of bookmarks. So, kids love bookmarks. I don't think age matters because everybody's reading, we're lifelong learners, and a bookmark. So imagine being able to just find some of these and they're already done for you, print them out, laminate them, and then now you have another thing that, and they could create their own bookmark.
Right.
But, I love the one for, the younger kids where you can, the words that they need to kind of learn. So there's one that has to do with subject pronouns, I, you, he, she, it, we, they. Youngest learners you talk about reinforcement of skills. That's an easy way with that kind of bookmark.
And also what's nice about Canva is it is designed for the education space. So it's integrated with Google Workspace. So you can have that sign in there. You can create teams. You can share resources throughout your district. You can create groups as a teacher and then be able to collaborate and share with your colleagues and also with your students.
And Canva has an article that I wanted to mention, Dan, and number 1 is going to be your favorite one. It says, here are 10 ways to use Canva in your classroom. Number 1, practice design thinking.
Woohoo!
I knew you were going to love that. So they have that. They have design your own lesson plans. You can discover other educators' lesson plans. So a lot of people are sharing in that environment. There's one here where it says social change through persuasion. So again, the lessons are there. Learning portfolios.
Hey, that ties into the teen activism.
That's it. Great presentations and videos if you wanted to give something, just another choice, right? Mm-hmm. Compared to slides. Build branding for your classroom. Students can create different kind of, learning plans depending upon their age level. And obviously group projects can be more appealing and they can kind of collaborate on them because we've done that a lot with book covers and everything like that. So Canva has an article giving you some ideas of how to utilize it in the classroom. The last thing, Dan, I wanted to go ahead.
Oh, I'm sure we're probably going to the same place. Is Matt Miller hooks us up once again? I can't wait till we get him on the podcast.
Yeah, it's scheduling right now. He's a busy guy.
He is a busy guy, and I think a lot of our listeners are anxiously awaiting that. But, Ditch That Textbook comes out with 20 Canva templates to use in class tomorrow. So if you open this up and you look at our links, you'll find things. And, these free templates and everything that Canva is putting out, Canva is a great graphic design tool in itself, but students can do the work inside of Canva. It's easy to get signed up with Google, but you can also download these templates and add them to slides or to Google Slides, or if you're a Microsoft district, to PowerPoint. So if you don't want your students working inside of Canva, you can always open up one of the templates, delete the placeholder text in it, and then download the templates as an image file and then go create them in Slides or PowerPoint.
Right, just adjusting the size will make it easy. And, of course, check with your district's tech department and privacy officer in regards to making sure that they have signed their EdLaw 2 agreement. But I think Canva's pretty much been on top of that with most of them.
Yeah.
So I don't foresee it being a problem. But, again, always just ensure that they have signed and have checked off all the boxes for the privacy agreements. Looking at Matt's thing, I love magazine covers and book covers.
Right.
Just looking at them. That's great.
I see CD cover, and I kind of question, they don't know what a CD is.
Yeah.
But that could be
Go back to Blockbuster, Dan.
Could be a cool history lesson, right? I can still bring in my CDs. I've got a lot of them. What about
I think
you?
they were trying to get in the music world there, right?
What about you, Mr. DJ? You still have your CDs?
I have some. But, think about this. So I'm going to go off the rails for a minute here. A lot of cars nowadays don't have CD players.
No, they don't.
No, they don't.
Mine doesn't.
They don't have CD players. So I wonder what year they stopped. It's got to be I'd say in 2017, 18, they stopped putting the CD player drives in the cars.
But what's funny is I just remember we're off the rails and we only have a few more minutes, so I'm staying off the rails. But you look at that design feature, to design maybe we can just say it's cover art now. It could be a CD cover, but it could be if students are designing a podcast, they can create the cover art for the podcast. Or if they're making a music playlist for something, they can design their own covers, and that CD cover could be out there digitally. But I just know that listening component of something goes right along with that visual component as you're looking at something with listening along. I mean, I just think of when I was so young, going through all my dad's albums, right? And just playing, these are records on a record player.
Which have come back. I'm sorry to interrupt.
They have. Vinyl has come back.
You can get them at Kohl's now, the record players.
But I would just look at the cover art and I'd look at the liner sleeves and I'd read everything as I was listening along to the music. I even noticed my 5-year-old son, when we're listening to something in the car, he's looking over and he's looking at the image that's on the radio, like it's the cover, and he gets mad when it's not there, because he wants to see it along with hear it. So I think, we say CD cover, but I think that visual to go along with audio is pretty powerful.
Yeah, I mean, and it's interesting that, I don't even know if CDs are really even sold anymore. I'm sure to some degree some of them are, because there are people who still have those devices. But
where they're selling cassettes again, so There is that.
Yeah, great. Then 8 tracks. It's all full circle here, right? We already got record players.
Have you ever listened to an 8-track?
Not in years.
When it just like stops in the middle of a song,
and then you gotta eject it. Yeah. Yeah, it's literally like the spin back of a record there. When that happens.
Showing my age right now.
Yeah, but I lost my train of thought. We were talking off the rails.
But the templates are in there, and Canva is what I like about it is the same thing I like about Adobe Creative Express is just giving a good starting point for students to design. We always want them to be a creator of something and to be able to have unique designs in a way that's manageable for them to achieve, because they have a vision, and the incorporation of all these social media type templates will allow them to really think about what they're doing and express it in a language that they know. So whether you're going to Adobe, Canva, they're both targeted towards education and students and kids, so you can't go wrong.
No, and the one thing I did want to mention now that I'm back on the rails is there are hundreds of templates available inside Canva. Mm-hmm. And, like Dan said, they are in the education world. They're in business, marketing, social media, personal, whatever you need it for. However, the big thing is Canva Pro, because there's obviously licensing, right?
Of course.
But Canva Pro is free for educators. You basically just need to verify that you are an educator with the company, and then you'll have access to all of their templates, in the template menu, and then you can kind of utilize them. And then you really don't have to worry about the digital agreement for privacy because we're over the age of 18, so you don't have to worry about sharing, that identifiable information. But Canva Pro, again, we like the free 99, and there it is. So you can definitely get your own subscription to Canva Pro and Canva and try to, start messing around, see what you like.
All right.
Any final thoughts, Dan? We did go off the rails a little bit, but that's all right.
We have a lot of thoughts in there.
I hope somebody has an 8-track that they can send to you, or at least a picture. Tag him in social media, okay, and get that done. That's what I would do.
I'm also curious of how many people are listening actually owned maybe a record player or a CD
they still
player.
Have one, yeah. I mean, there's, like you said, albums are coming back. They are. I mean, not maybe not as much, but the new generation, like we talk about, the streaming, the Netflix, that's all it is. Whether it's using Alexa, right, or okay Google,
Alexa, play 90s alternative.
Whatever it is, you're not going to be flipping your cassette to the B-side to hear the songs anymore. So
yeah, but then you don't have the struggle when you're making a mixtape and you only have like 4 minutes,
record and play at the same time,
or you have like 4 minutes left on your tape and you got to figure out the right song so it doesn't get cut off.
Dan, you were one of those individuals that you were listening to the Top 9 at 9 on K104 and trying to record the number 1 song.
That's it. I was listening to Enriquez.
I don't know about that. Oh, here we go. No, we're not going there.
No, let's
wrap up.
Thanks,
Final
everyone.
Thoughts.
Thank you very much.
Be sure to fill out the sticker request if you want a sticker.
Swag.
That's it. Get some swag. And as always, thank you for all your support listening on whatever platform or 8-track you are listening to us on and leaving us a review. If you have any questions, comments, suggestions, please reach out. Tech hard, work smart, live the adventure.
Find Andrew on all socials at @ANicolaTech and Dan at WCSD Tech DR.